That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, we got a ton of things to talk about. I mean, this is going to be an extremely important video because I think a couple of these guys that are falling fast in fantasy football, they're not necessarily obvious for the casual fantasy football player. So I think you can actually go out there, take advantage, and you can sell some of these guys before their value completely bottoms out. But yeah, before we get into the video though, please guys, make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a comment on the video. All the recent success for all the videos that we have seen. The reason that we are the #1 fastest growing fantasy football channel on YouTube is just because we have the best fantasy football audience on YouTube. Y'all go out there, I mean, y'all just completely kill every video. I mean, before we even have the video out for a couple hours, I mean, the video will have like 500 views and over 100 likes. I mean, guys, it's just absolutely insane, and I cannot thank y'all enough. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Actually, no, one more thing. We are going to be live streaming every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night after the game, Friday night, and Saturday night, and Sunday morning. Every single day we stream. So please, guys, make sure you go down there. Please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell next to the subscription if you want to be notified when we do go live, because then you're going to be able to join the stream a little bit earlier than everyone else, and you are actually going to be able to get your question answered right away, guaranteed. And yeah, but regardless, I'm excited for y'all to see our new streaming format. And let's get into these players. I've wasted way too much time. So first off, Dalvin Cook. So yeah, I know y'all are thinking, but Mason, I mean, Dalvin Cook, what was he, RB2 this past week? I mean, was he a low-end RB1? I mean, yeah, guys, he had production. But at the end of the day, we're not necessarily counting up previous fantasy stats. What we are doing is we are trying to project how these players are going to score in the coming weeks. And with Dalvin Cook, I mean, this offense just looks horrible. Yes, Dalvin Cook is a very talented player. I mean, there is a reason that Dalvin Cook was going so high in fantasy football drafts, and that's because he can go out there, he can command a significant amount of carries as well as targets, and we thought they were going to funnel this offense through him, which through 2 weeks, that looks to be 100% true. But what also looks to be true and is a lot more concerning than where they're actually getting their carries and targets to is just the overall output of this offense. I mean, after that abysmal Week 2 performance, where, I mean, we saw the Jacksonville Jaguars go up against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 1 and had no problem putting up an impressive performance. On the other hand, Kirk Cousins goes out there, throws for 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, ends up, actually, I believe he had like 4 yards per pass attempt. I mean, just absolutely horrendous. This is an offense that we want nothing to do with. I'm trying to go out there. I'm trying to sell low on Adam Thielen. I'm trying to sell. Man, I would go out there and I would just take a loss on Dalvin Cook right now. If someone told me, hey, Mason, I'll give you Jonathan Taylor for Dalvin Cook, I am breaking my finger slamming that accept button. I mean, this overall offense just looks horrendous. And yes, Dalvin Cook may very well be a top 5 running back in the NFL in terms of pure talent. I'm not arguing that Dalvin Cook is not a good running back, but what is true is Dalvin Cook is not a running back that we want to be targeting in fantasy, because we know the running back position is dictated so heavily by situation that Dalvin Cook, I mean, he's not it. And I mean, I think you can still get a decent haul for Dalvin Cook in fantasy football because, I mean, he really performed in Week 1. Week 2, he goes out there, gets 71 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions. So, I mean, what is that? That's good for like 15 fantasy points. So nobody's really having their red flags just pop up unless they are paying attention to what's going on. And then it's going to be harder for you to do. But, I mean, there's always a sucker in the league. Go try to sell Dalvin Cook. Our next player is another 3-down running back that actually really looks like he has more juice this year than I initially thought, but Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is another one of these guys. I'm probably just going to go out there and try to sell right now. And I think that you can actually sell Melvin Gordon for a higher price than where you drafted him in fantasy football. And the reason that I think that he's actually falling in value at the moment is we see his starting quarterback go down, Drew Lock. I would be surprised if Drew Lock, with his shoulder injury, actually ends up making it back within a month of football. And I think this offense is going to have an extremely hard time moving the ball down the field with Jeff Driscoll. And yes, I know Jeff Driscoll did not necessarily look too bad in Week 1. But I mean, guys, we have to understand this is an offense without their starting quarterback, without their stud wide receiver. And I mean, we already had questions with them to begin with. So Melvin Gordon, I just think that he's another one of these guys like Dalvin Cook that is just in a horrendous situation that we don't want anything to do with right now. And I think that this is the perfect time before people kind of realize that these players should be losing value at the very least, but they're just box score scouting. They're going, oh, Melvin Gordon got 19 carries, over 80 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown in week 2. Melvin Gordon, I need him as my running back 1 or my running back 2. That's when you go capitalize. You go try to trade Melvin Gordon and get a player like Kareem Hunt and possibly a little bit back on top of it. And I think that's a trade that you were going to be looking at 4 weeks from now, and you're going to be happy. But now let's get to some other running backs. Some of these running backs are just completely dead at this point. Man, this next player, y'all know in 2019, while he was just going for dirt cheap, I mean, he was like being drafted in like the 13th round. I mean, in Dynasty Fantasy Football, I was trading 3rd round rookie picks for him. Ronald Jones, he was my guy in 2019. Going into 2020, I thought the hype was a little bit out of control. I did not understand how we actually got there. And regardless, I mean, hindsight is what it is. And we're looking at Ronald Jones. I mean, he just lost his job. He goes out there. I told a bunch of people to start him in week 2. He had a fantastic matchup going up against the Carolina Panthers. And I mean, it was all working out. And then Ronald Jones fumbles. And then Tom Brady says, man, I can't trust this guy in my offense. We know that Tom Brady, when he went to Tampa Bay, he was going to have full control. He brings in Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette really shows exactly what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans wanted to see. And I think that it is going to be his job from here on out. I think Ronald Jones is now unstartable. But I'm at least a little bit happy that when I did go out there, tell a ton of people to start Ronald Jones in week 2, I think that it was the right process, and it would have actually really paid out before Ronald Jones fumbled the ball. But even he got some production before that fumble, getting 27 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown. So it didn't completely burn you, even though I think we could have seen a much bigger day from Ronald Jones if he did not lose the ball. Now, let's go to everyone's favorite waiver wire ad from week 1, and this was Nyheim Hines. I mean, Nyheim Hines goes out there. He gets out-touched by Jonathan Taylor like 28-1. I mean, he was just non-existent in this Indianapolis Colts offense. I think that actually he still is worth a roster spot, and I think a lot of your opponents are going to go out there and drop him. And my only logic behind this is we know that Nyheim Hines, I mean, his only role in this offense, and this is what I said all week, was a passing down running back. That's why when everyone asked me if they should start Nyheim Hines and they told me it was standard scoring, I said no way, because in standard scoring, all we are looking for is touchdowns and yards. And Nyheim Hines, all he's going to be able to provide this year are receptions. So I think that he still has value in PPR leagues, but we're just going to have to look for the right matchups to play him in. And the matchups you are going to want to play Nyheim Hines in are the ones that the Indianapolis Colts are major underdogs going up, and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot with Phillip Rivers. Just, you know, he has an arm that's pretty much falling off his body at this point, just having to dump it down to Nyheim Hines. And I think that if he goes up against a team like Minnesota Vikings, where they're not going to have to go out there and throw the ball because they're going to be able to easily take control and win the game, that's not where we want to start Nyheim Hines, because if they're playing from ahead, he is not going to get on the field at all. He's going to have no role. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor the entire way. But I mean, man, if they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys, I mean, any game that is going to cause them to have to pass the ball, I mean, this is a situation where you don't want to be starting Nyheim Hines, and I think it's a good lesson to learn in week 2. Last player we're going to talk about is someone that I listed off as one of the 5 running backs you did not want to be starting in week 2. I kind of changed my tone on it just a little bit down the week, because once we learned that Duke Johnson was going to be out of this offense, I think that there was just an immense opportunity for David Johnson. And he comes in, and yes, I mean, he gets every single running back touch out of that backfield. I mean, they did not use a single other player than David Johnson. But the problem was the matchup was just horrendous, and we could not see this Houston Texans team get the ball moving down the field. And this is the second week we have seen Deshaun Watson have struggles. I mean, he did go up against the 2 best teams in the NFL, but at the same time, you have to be asking yourself, I mean, how much of the Houston Texans' success was based off of Deshaun Watson, or how much was it based off of that wide receiver that's just absolutely beasting in Arizona right now, and DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, if this Houston Texans team cannot get the ball moving down the field anytime soon, I think David Johnson is going to be one of these players that, yes, he may be getting a ton of carries, a ton of targets, but he may not be able to do anything with them just because the overall efficiency of the offense is going to be horrible. But thanks, guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed the video. I really hope y'all got something from it. as always, guys, I mean, I am going to be streaming nonstop, and I cannot stress how important it is to make sure you're subscribed. Or I don't even think that YouTube recommends the stream to anybody that's not subscribed. I could very much easily be wrong on that, but I know I spend a ton of time on YouTube, and I don't think I've ever been recommended a stream that was not from someone I subscribe to. And also, I think it's really important for you to go down there and you turn the bell on, because if you don't have that bell on, you're not going to know when I get live. And yes, maybe you get in about like 30 minutes after we are already live. But at that point, we're going to have over 200 people in there. There are just going to be 10 questions flooding in every minute. And while I try to get to every single question I can, at that point of the stream, we're also getting a ton of donations as well. So, I mean, it's just going to be hard for me to get to your question. I'm still going to try my best, but it's not guaranteed. But man, if you can get in there right away, if you have that notification on, you're almost guaranteed an answer, and we can chat for a little bit. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Really hope y'all enjoyed the video. Really hope that y'all have a great day.